What an opportunity tonight for Texas Southern and Clarence McKinney. Year number 3 as he guides this program, part of the rebuilding project, getting the foundation laid to possibly compete for a SWAC championship. An enrollment around 7,000, located on the south side of Houston. Michael Strahan, the proud Tiger for so many years, a representative of this university and what McKinney wants to do. We talked with him this week, an opportunity against a Power 5 school, the first time this has happened in quite some time for Texas Southern, and he knows a heavy underdog, especially after the loss last week to kick off the season to Prairie View, losing 40-17, but an opportunity here tonight in Waco.
It is an opportunity. He inherited this schedule and is taking the challenge as is. They're a fairly young football team. They lack experience, but they are confident in what they're trying to build and what they're doing.
Soon to be 45-year-old Dave Aranda has brought his championship pedigree here to Waco. Year number 2, and he has this program moving in the right direction, and he certainly knows about championships, that's for sure. He spent 4 years in Baton Rouge, won a national title and an SEC championship as the defensive coordinator at LSU.
His ability to rally the troops, so to speak, speaks volumes. What he was able to do with that defense at LSU, and already in his short tenure here in Baylor, he's got guys buying in.
And we are underway, a Saturday night in Waco, deep end-overing kick by Richard Garcia. And the reigning Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year will give it a shot as flags fly. Tristan Ebner out past the 20, up near the 25, but a flag down. We will get our first look at tonight's referee early, and Kevin Marr.
During the return, holding receiving team number 89, 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's the backup tight end, Drake Dabney, and a good look at this Baylor offense. And Ryan, they really had the game in control last week against Texas State because they controlled the line of scrimmage. They brought in a couple of transfers on the offensive line. We talked about the experience at running back, and they just controlled the tempo up front.
The score was a lot closer a week ago than it probably should have been because they did control the line of scrimmage like you talked about. Expect to see a lot of running game and then play action with Gary Bohannon.
Start number 2 for Bohannon, the junior out of Earl, Arkansas. Out of the pistol look, they will try to get this ground game going. Nice change of direction by Ebner. Slips free from a defender as he runs horizontally and now turns it upfield. Pushed out of bounds at the 29 by Isaiah Hamilton.
Anytime you have a running back with the ability to plant his foot and move around and make jump cuts like that, you always have to be aware on the backside.
So a good start for Ebner. He rushed for 120 yards last week. 1st and 10 from the 29. Little bootleg near side. Bohannon dumps it off to the tight end. That's Ben Sims with the catch. Another flag flies as Sims is tackled at the 39. Should be good enough for a first down, but a flag in the Texas Southern secondary.
Prior to the pass, holding on an eligible receiver. Defense number 8. That penalty's declined. Result of the play is the first down.
I thought that might have gone the other way. The wide receiver and cornerback kind of got into it a little bit. But there's a perfect example of the play action. After running the same type of run action on play number 1, they go right back to it, and he boots around and does a tremendous job of waiting for his receiver to come open.
That's one area that they certainly wanted to get going early. The tight end grouping, we'll see as many as 4 in this game. Over the middle, there's Thornton with the catch. Tyquan Thornton, his first grab, another first down catch. 10 more yards through the air for Bohannon.
Perfectly well timed there. Bohannon simply catches the ball, takes one step, and then bangs that route right off the side for a slant route in front of the cornerback.
Texas Southern defense that really struggled last week through the air with this young secondary. Ebner gets his second touch. Another flag as Ebner is in the open. There is a flag down in the Baylor backfield. Ebner to the house, but let's wait and see. A flag down back at midfield.
That's number 66. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
That's one of the two transfers they brought in, the big center Jacob Goll, who moved in from Buffalo, very familiar with the wide zone offense that Jeff Grimes wants to run.
Yeah, he is. He just, if you're not holding, you're not trying. But sometimes you get caught, and usually when something breaks like that and somebody breaks wide open down the field, there is a consequence to your actions for Jacob Goll there.
So a couple of touches and a couple of electrifying runs for Ebner. The second one, the latter, we just saw all for naught because of the penalty. And now maybe a break for Texas Southern. Let's see if they can get some traction on the road here defensively. 1st and 20 for Bohannon and the Bears. Opening drive tonight from Waco. We have the two tight ends to the left and Dabney and Sims. Bohannon whips it out, making the catch. This time the Tigers do a much better job pursuing the football. Fleeks the reception.
What defensive coordinator Jeffrey Caesar told us, it was going to be all about being gap sound today, right? Against a team that's much more talented, more depth. You have to trust what you see and do your job. And then that will help them be more effective. If they get outside their gaps, it could be a long night, especially with how well they run the football.
Texas Southern will rush 4. Plenty of time for Bohannon. Puts a soft touch. Thornton has his second catch, about 3 yards shy of the first down.
Been really impressed early on here with Bohannon and his ability to throw the ball when they're running timing routes. That's a big difference. Watch this. He takes the 1-2-3, plants and lets it go, puts it right on the numbers for a big gain to set up a short third down.
Solid start by Bohannon, 4 for 4 on this opening drive. 2 of those completions to his veteran wideout from Miami, Tyquan Thornton. For the first time, third down, pressure comes. Bohannon forced to get rid of it as he felt the heat. Good job that time by Marquise Walker, the redshirt junior from Houston. Started his career as a walk-on.
Great job by him. He just absolutely swings around, and the right tackle misses him as he's been engaged with the defensive end coming down. Great pressure. Bohannon does the only thing he can and get rid of it.
Texas Southern, apparent to the opportunity here for Baylor, they had the offense still on the field on 4th down, so they're going to use the timeout. Dave Aranda.
Texas Southern, their first of the half, 32nd timeout.
Dave Aranda told us he wanted Bohannon to take some shots downfield. That's the part of the offense he thought was missing last week against Texas State.
And he also talked to us about situational football like this, right? And kind of buying into the analytics of it all. And sure enough, we hear on the first drive, we get a 4th down. And when they're in his ear on 3rd and saying, hey, we have, if we get to 4th and 5 or 4th and 4, we're going for it here. That's what the numbers tell us. And here's the first example of that for Dave Aranda with a 4th and 3.
Second year here in Waco for Aranda, and you knew coming in his pedigree on the defensive side of the football, but what they have been able to do here in the offseason, trying to build this ground game and really fit the new mold of the Big 12, and we'll talk more about it with the 12 and even 13 personnel, the multiple tight end settings. Big play early on if you're the Tigers from Texas Southern. 4th down and 4 for Baylor. Switching with the tight end, back and forth goes Ben Sims. He'll line up to the right. Running back out of the backfield is Abram Smith. He makes the catch and a first down as the Bears convert on 4th.
Yeah, you really could see that from all the way up here. And what they were trying to do is they were just getting Abram Smith out leveraging on the defense, and it makes for an easy throw here for a first down. Exceptional job of him just allowing the running back to do his job. He outflanks the defensive back or linebacker who essentially had to cover him, and he put the ball in the money.
Abram Smith will get his first call on the ground, and a gaping hole over the left side. Double-digit yards in the gallop. Tariq Cooper finally able to track him down.
The ability for these giant men on the offensive line to reach block, to move out in those big zone gaps that we talked about, it's really impressive to see the athletic prowess of guys that are 6'2", 315, 6'5", 330. Every person on the offensive line is over 310 pounds.
So take a look at their splits on the offensive line. Very wide in this set, this wide zone blocking scheme for the OC Grimes. Ebner with the call, straight up the middle. Much better job that time by Texas Southern.
You know, those spacing, the spacing on the offensive line that you just talked about, it's all about for defensive preparation is gap integrity. Make sure you are in the gap you're supposed to be. And sometimes that can be really difficult when you got 330-pounders pushing you around where your gap is supposed to be.
Certainly so. You saw Grant Miller, the big right guard, the transfer from Vanderbilt. He's in at 310. Big size differential up front. Texas Southern will rotate a lot of different bodies today. Second down and 5. That is Snead in motion. Bohannon looks like he wants to take a shot toward the end zone, and it's knocked away at the last second. Good read that time by the true freshman, Calvin Henderson, as it looked like Sims had snuck into some safety along the sideline.
You're exactly right. Calvin Henderson spots this immediately and gets over there with his speed and gets his finger on. Otherwise, this is probably a touchdown for Ben Sims. I think Bohannon sees it early enough, and if he could just get it out of his hand a split second sooner, it would have been a big play.
Baylor 0 for 1 on third downs. They'll give it to Smith. Little stop and go action, and he is drugged down at the 20, setting up another fourth down. Another tackle for Tariq Cooper, and defensive coordinator Clarence McKinney and Jeffrey Caesar both told us they thought Cooper would be the top tackler today.
Yeah, Tariq Cooper, the junior college transfer out of Blinn College, I mean, really able to get in and make a sure tackle.
Baylor going up tempo for their second fourth down try on this drive. Fourth and short. They will hand it to Smith. First down. He's in the open. Touchdown, Baylor.
Something about scoring a touchdown in front of fans once again. Just let everybody kind of experience that for a minute. But that was a wonderful play on fourth down. Sometimes you line up everybody on the line of scrimmage when it's fourth and short. If you're able to get past that first level, there is nothing behind it. Exactly what happened for Abram Smith as he walks into the end zone to put Baylor up 6.
Isaiah Hankins, the true freshman from Little Rock, adds the point after. We were talking at the start of the broadcast, an identity being built in Waco. It's power football, physical football. Nobody exemplifies it better than the senior Abram Smith. Baylor scores first. Just a gorgeous Saturday night in Waco. Dave Aranda was looking forward to feeling the environment the first time on that Baylor sideline with the unlimited capacity and a good start as Abram Smith touched it twice on that opening drive, both times on fourth downs. He had the completion out of the backfield to keep the drive alive. And then on fourth and short, he scores from 20 yards out, a monster 12-play, 93-yard drive by Baylor, a little more than 5 minutes off the game clock.
Got to feel good about overcoming the adversity, going for it on fourth down twice, executing both times, getting in the end zone. An extended drive of 93 yards. Those are all big points of emphasis.
Rauschenberg with a good high deep kick that sails through the end zone, and we will get our first look at Jalen Brown. Brown, the redshirt freshman, Austin, Texas, getting the start. The orchestrator of the Texas Southern offense. Last week was his first start as the guy on campus. He started this past spring, but remember, Texas Southern only played 2 games because of the pandemic, the FCS playing spring football. So only 2 games this spring, one of them led by Jalen Brown, and he won a tight competition this fall.
Yeah, you talked about it. There was a tight competition between him and Andrew Body. The 1 year of experience took him over the top, coaches said.
Baylor brings a blitz, and hello, Mr. Petrie.
We spent the open talking about him, and I said he was shot out of a cannon a week ago, and I don't know if that could have been more of a metaphor right there for everybody to see. Absolutely creeping up on the line. Watch this. He knows where it's going, and his immediacy and just violence is right there, Johnny on the spot.
He has really developed into a fan favorite here in Waco. 2nd down and 13, and Texas Southern moving the wrong way. Blown up by Matt Jones.
I don't know if you noticed there, but he didn't quite know if the quarterback was going to pull it or not, and he just extended both arms. Watch this, he explodes up the line. He grabs both offensive players, ultimately rips down the running back with one arm. You talk about physical. I think you and I know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, he was going to make sure he had both options covered. Jones, the sophomore from Odessa, his first career start was last week. And the win in San Marcos, 3rd and a mile. Getting rid of it quickly, and it's batted down at the line of scrimmage. I think that was Cole Maxwell who got a hand up, and a solid start for Ron Roberts in this defense for Baylor.
Yeah, he's got to be extremely excited about this defense. 10 returning starters, a ton of veteran leadership, and guys that are confident in what they do because they fly around. They're not thinking about it at all, Sean. They know where they're supposed to be, and they're doing it fast.
Petrie set it all up with the 1st down hit, and then his teammates took it from there. Sawyer Evans to punt just in front of his goal line. Ebner awaiting the punt near midfield. Low snap, dug out nicely by Evans. Baylor had the return set. Ebner fields at the 48 with a fair catch. And then some contact after the whistle. Some Texas pleasantries. Good starting position. Drive number 2 for the Bears when we come back. Even though Baylor endured a tough season last year, 2-7 for the Bears, their defense was really good, and they are anticipating it to be near the top once again for Roberts and his crew. 10 starters back on that unit from a year ago. That was 2nd in the Big 12. Look at the yardage, just 203 through the air. Last week they picked up where they left off a season ago on the road at Texas State.
And then a quantifier in terms of defensive statistics are always takeaways. But you can never know what that variable is going to look like because the ball bounces in different directions. They are really good at taking the ball away. 20 takeaways in the 10 games Dave Aranda has coached. That is an exorbitant amount of times they get the ball back to their offense.
182 career games when you talk the secondary personnel alone for Baylor. Series number 2 for the Bears. They start up shop at the Texas Southern 48. A couple of tight ends in the formation. Play fake. Bohannon. Here's the deep ball. They want to put some touch on it. Thornton's out there. Money. Touchdown. Baylor. Bang.
You saw it from the get-go. They run the same zone action there with the running back, and he boots out. And then you have a safety that just jumps to try to be that player there to make the tackle, and wide open over the top. Perfectly thrown football, too. A week ago, we just didn't see it. He's been really good in the fall and in the spring throwing that deep ball. Offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes really wanted to see that out of his young quarterback tonight, and there you go.
So we've seen both sides for this Baylor offense. Drive number 1, they march it all the way down the field, rely on a couple of 4th down conversions. Ryan here on their 2nd series, they take advantage of the field position, and they waste no time.
Usually when you see a big shot like that, it's usually after a turnover, but something is quick turnaround as that, perfectly set up. Safety bid on it. The offensive line gives him a ton of time, and away they go. Watch this as he play action. Look at the time he has as he sets up there. No hitch in his giddy up. He lets it go freely to the wide open receiver 50 yards down the field.
And this is a part of the offense that they know is going to be critical if they're to have success and compete for a Big 12 championship, because with this running game and this offensive line, they're going to see a lot of guys in the box. They have to be able to soften up the defense.
Exactly, and that's what they did on the first drive. They threw a lot of short patterns and ran the ball really well. And sure enough, right after a big essential turnover in terms of making them putt on a 3 and out. They took a shot. And unlike a week ago, Bohannon is right on the money to his star, Tyquan Thornton.
So this is a real difficult situation if you're a Tiger right now. Down 14 on the ropes, hostile environment here in Waco.
And as an offense, when we talked to offensive coordinator David Marsh, he really talked to us about what they like to do, right? They like to be an up-tempo football team, but they got to get a first down, right? And that gets them rolling. But if you keep going 3 and out, you never get to that first down, and you never get into what you do really well, and that's to be up-tempo. This defense is going to be flying at you all night long. You have to find a way to establish some sort of semblance of drive integrity, getting down the football field, eating up clock, or that defense is going to be on the field all night long.
Go with a 2 running back set, both Kevin Harris and Jeff Proctor in the game. On first down as they try to get some traction offensively over the left side. This is the Illinois State transfer. Proctor picking up a few. Matt Jones in on the stop. Another flag throw.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 52, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
This might be the only way they get first downs tonight, but when the defense makes mistakes, and don't forget, that was something they wanted to clean up from a week ago, all the penalties they had on the defensive side of the football. They really kept Texas State in the game by doing those and committing them. Rears its ugly head once again here.
They had 11 penalties last week against Texas State. Good plant foot and good cut up ahead by Proctor. First year with Texas Southern after transferring in from Illinois State, and they really bragged up his leadership and his transition into this offense.
Good job of putting his foot down and seeing the hole and absolutely exploding through it, right? Getting almost 9 yards to set up a short second down.
Play fake. Nowhere open, pressure comes, down he goes, back at the 44. Brown is sacked. Jones again, he is flying all over the field in this first quarter.
Were you a big Friday Night Lights fan?
I was wondering when you were going to go there.
Yeah, Permian High School there, the Permian Panther flat out just beats the tight end or the left tackle and gets right to the quarterback. And the quarterback can't double clutch it against a defense like this. You got to let it fly or throw it away, because what you had was a 2nd and 1, and now because of the sack, you set up a very, very long 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8.
Jones benefited from the spring, moved to the inside spot for this Baylor defense, and now in a second career start, wreaking havoc in this first quarter. Another flag.
Timeout. Texas Southern, their second of the half. 30 seconds in lane.
Play clock was winding down, so the Tigers forced to burn their second timeout in this opening quarter.
The penalty on the one side for Baylor extended it, got them into a position where they could start doing some things on the offensive side, Texas Southern. And then sure enough, when you had a 2nd and short, they're going to get beat up front. They just are. They're just more talented on the front 7 than Texas Southern is, and much deeper. And as the quarterback, Jalen Brown's got to be, his trigger's got to be quick tonight. He's got to see what he sees, trust it, and let it rip.
So as a quarterback, how do you slow the game down? A situation here for Jalen Brown, never has played in an environment like tonight.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult with a defense that's so confident, knows what they're supposed to be doing, and flying around. So like I said, he's got to trust what it's called and really think about what his first and second reads are tonight.
Still looking for his first completion. They bring a delayed blitz. He gets rid of it quickly, and it's dropped. Jonathan Giles was popped right as the ball arrived. Kalen Barnes delivering the boom that time. Another veteran corner.
This is what happens when you play cover 2 and you lead your wide receiver into that corner that's rolled up. If you could find him in that zone, and both the wide receiver and the quarterback have to be on the same page there, and you don't lead them into that tackle. Also, Kalen Barnes did a tremendous job, right? When you make the wide receiver outside release and then you turn around right for the next coming guy that's in your area, and he was Johnny on the spot again.
Saw the snap on the last punt very low. Let's see if Baylor brings some pressure. They do not. Much better snap, much better kick by Evans. End over end, fair catch by Ebner, and good job there for Sawyer Evans, a punt of 41 yards. And Bohannon and company getting ready to go back to work. 14-0 Baylor. More than halfway through this opening quarter. The home opener for the Bears here in Waco.
In year 2 after that truncated season last year because of COVID.
In his 6 seasons as a defensive coordinator in Power 5 conference schools, his defense is ranked in the top 12 5 different times. Plenty of offense, though, in this first quarter, and that has him smiling. The 1-2 punch, no surprise, of Ebner and Smith. This time it's Ebner close to first down yardage, a pickup of 8.
You talked about his Power 5 experience as a defensive coordinator. He really honed his skills there in Wisconsin. Kind of allowed him to be the guy he wants to be and build that identity, which Baylor has now encompassed.
You know, it's so interesting when you talk to him, his attention to detail and the human factor that he brings in to each conversation. Talking about his players. Second down, little misdirection in the backfield, trying to get free is Josh Fleeks, trying to stretch it wide. Real good pursuit. Tracking him all the way across the field was the former Syracuse standout, Tim Walton.
You know, you talked about the humanity side of Dave Aranda. You know, I asked him the question about Charlie Brewer, their quarterback for the last 4 years, who threw for almost 10,000 yards, and the difficult decision when he walked into his office and said he was going to move on. Coach really checked his ego and was about making it about the player, and that was something really great to see.
Option pitch and a big hole. Ebner gets a great block from his receiver, and then he nearly blew a gasket, kept his balance, reverses direction. A foot race to the corner. One man to beat, and he's pushed out of bounds.
You know, we talked about this in the open. His ability, his finesse, the difference between him and Abram Smith. He's able to do this. He's able to jump cut, get out of the way. This play's supposed to go to the left the whole time. It's a pitch. He gets outside, gets a great block. But watch him put his foot in the ground here and just kind of jump. Keeps his feet by putting his hand on the ground, and then gets outside. And then it's just a matter of who's faster and who has the angle. Sure enough, Calvin Henderson's able to get there and run him out of bounds with Derek Tucker.
58 yards in the run by Ebner. Inside the red zone again. Spinning his way ahead is Abram Smith, twisted down just shy of the 5. As we go back to the balance, this looks like an all-purpose back right here.
Yeah, tremendous job of keeping his balance here. Gets his hand down, but never touches his knee to the ground, and then accelerates out of it.
It is going to be a different season for him. He only had 76 touches last year, but he will be a primary focus each and every week.
Both of these guys will probably get a similar amount of carries and touches every single week. And whoever's really hot, they may ride that hot hand.
This is a keeper by Bohannon all the way, and he just made a defender disappear. Nifty little footwork move by Gary Bohannon, and Baylor making it look easy early on.
Yeah, Gary Bohannon brings us something a little different than what Charlie Brewer did. And with the addition of Jeff Grimes in his first year as the offensive coordinator, a little run-pass option here, and sure enough, he puts his foot in the ground, makes a guy miss, and stumbles into the end zone.
He was a 4-star ESPN recruit coming out of the tiny town of Earl, Arkansas. A little town located about 28 miles west of Memphis, 2,400 grand total population. And he just put up all sorts of numbers, rushed for over 6,000 yards and 70 touchdowns for the two-time All-Stater. More exciting Big 12 college football action comes your way next Saturday. Triple header. Kansas State hosts Nevada. That's where I'll be in Manhattan. 2:05 Eastern, 1:05 Central. Then at 3:30 Eastern, Baylor begins its Big 12 conference schedule with a showdown in Lawrence against Kansas. That's where Ryan will be. And then at night, Texas Tech, FIU, 7 o'clock Eastern. For more information about these games, as well as the other sports across the Big 12, sign up today at ESPNplus.com.
You're going to get a good one there. Nevada has a heck of a quarterback. Carson Strong NFL first-round talent. They beat a Cal Bears team that is really good defensively a week ago. They'll be up against a tough test there in Kansas State.
And Baylor gets Kansas. Lance Leipold has started his career now, moving in from Buffalo. And a week one win against South Dakota, but last night a tough go against the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina.
It's a tough go when you're facing the Mullets. It just is.
Terrific job with the strong leg tonight from Noah Rauschenberg. Another touchback as it goes sailing through the end zone.
Okay, what I want to see now that it's 21-0 from my offense, I need to establish some sort of identity now. They need to get a few first downs, put a drive together, because if they're not able to do that, the defense is just going to continually be left out on the field all night long, and that's not going to do anything for them. They need to be efficient and try to run some semblance of their offense.
Just the one first down so far, and that was via the penalty. At the 25-yard line, quick throw out to the flat, making the catch, and then just flying to the football, putting on the hit that time was J.T. Woods.
J.T. Woods a week ago in a similar situation, getting an interception. This time, like Petrie, when I talk about being shot out of a cannon, right there and makes a sure tackle.
Woods went back home to San Antonio a lot last year during the pandemic to train. Nifty little move here by Brown, and he's into the open, and he will pick up the first down.
Actually,
that's Andrew Body, excuse me.
He makes it. We heard Coach, we were going to have a package for him, and this was an opportunity for him to get in there. He makes a guy miss and then gets a first down with his feet. Now watch them go a little faster here, some up-tempo after getting a first down.
Little change of pace with Body, the freshman from Corpus Christi, the Texas 4A Player of the Year at Miller High School. In a collision at the line of scrimmage, the ground game in between the guards non-existent. Terrell Bernard is back, the two-time All-Big 12 performer, as we get a good look at Body for the first time.
13,000 passing yards in college, third in Texas history. Third in Texas history. And there's a lot of Texas football in your history books, people.
Second down play. Again, they go out to the flats. Making the catch, Ja'Cory Howard. He was trafficked out of bounds. Couple of Bears converging. J.T. Woods, Kalen Barnes. Good game, though, setting up a... they're going to give him enough. First down. So good work there by Howard out of the backfield.
Yeah, we were wondering when we talked to the coaches about the quarterback situation and whether one guy had more experience is kind of the reason why he got the job. I think it was inevitable that Body was going to get a shot.
Not a real clean snap there. Body was able to recover and get the ball handed off safely to Howard.
I believe it actually hit the body of the crosser.
It did.
And
jet
sure
sweep
enough,
motion.
It turns out, and then the running back, Ja'Cory Howard, picks it up and is able to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Fortuitous bounce for Texas Southern. Pressure off the edge, trying to run the opposite way is Proctor in a sea of green. Jalen Petrie, along with a handful of defenders, Dylan Doyle calling his name for the first time, the transfer from Iowa.
What's really impressive about Jalen Petrie, too, is his ability to dip his shoulder. When you watch him come around defensive ends, similar to what our offensive tackles, when you see defensive ends do it, but when you see a guy going as fast as he does and dip around and come straight down the line of scrimmage there to make the tackle from behind, that's special.
Texas Southern averaging about 2 yards per play. Body flush from the pocket. He can run if he wants to. He will, and he dives ahead and should have enough for the first down. How about the pocket presence for the youngster, knowing when to leave the pocket and then knowing where the sticks are?
Yeah, I don't care who you are. You throw for 13,000 yards, you know how to deal with yourself in the pocket.
Proctor up the middle, gets two.
There is no play. The previous play is under further review. The ruling on the field was the line to gain was reached.
All right, so they're going to take a look upstairs with our replay official, D. Anderson.
But back to Andrew Body and his ability. You talked about his pocket presence. Like I said, you don't throw for 13,000 yards in a high school career if you don't know what you're doing back there in the pocket. And that's clearly, he has a better feel than what Jaylen Brown did in those first couple series. But you can't fault him either. This defense is flying around making plays.
This is what they're taking a look at. Is at the end of the run, did he get enough to move the chains?
Yeah, from up here, it really looked like he got across there. If we could get an angle from the side here, the line to gain's about his knees down there. He's about the 42.5-yard line. So the 37.5-yard line it would be. That's where his knee's down. That's that right there. If they pause it right there, they're probably going to have
about
it
a yard
short, right?
Yeah, they'll be about a yard shot.
Yeah, they'll be at the 39.
You take a look at what Texas Southern has as far as a recruiting bed, and head coach Clarence McKinney talked about it. You know, they have Houston, the third largest city in the country. Then you move into Dallas, East Texas, and Louisiana. That's a big part of their recruiting trail. And he says they feel they have the talent to compete in the SWAC. The next stage is to bring in some experience, and that's where the transfer portal is going to come in big, not just for them, but really every program now in the country. It's changed so much.
Well, really the programs like Texas Southern, right? You are able to recruit some of these players and build relationships.
After further review, it was ruled that the ball carrier had his knee down and the ball was short of the line to gain. The ball will be placed on the 39-yard line, 4th down.
You build these relationships, even with the idea that you may not get them when the original recruiting process happens. But when these 4 or 5 stars guys go other places, and now the ability to jump into the portal, you've built those relationships. So if they're looking for a place to land, you can come back to those kind of relationships, and he's been able to do that. And that is a fundamental way for some of these smaller schools that may not be as deep or with much talent are able to utilize the transfer portal moving forward.
And that's the beauty of Texas. So many of these guys deeper in their careers want to come back home. Texas Southern, prime real estate for that. Not much has went right for Clarence McKinney in this first quarter. He has watched Baylor convert on a pair of 4th downs, and now his Tigers will get a crack at it. 4th and a yard.
If I'm Texas Southern here, I'm doing something with body in terms of a run-pass option here. Utilizing the man coverage down here at the bottom of the field. We'll see what they do.
It will be a quarterback power over the left side, and he is denied. T.J. Franklin, the junior who really has made an impact since his freshman year, coming up with the 4th down stop.
They didn't even really give the option of running the football there other than a lead blocker for the quarterback, and the 6'2", 195-pound freshman just not able to get through the 6'4", 300-pounder and T.J. Franklin as he pushes it back into the backfield and for a tackle for loss.
Franklin, one of the versatile defenders for Baylor on that front wall. Remember, there is no Siaki Ika today, the transfer from LSU out. But they have enough depth and guys that can play both inside and outside on that defensive line. What might be the final play of the quarter, and it's a good one for Texas Southern, is brought down in the backfield as Abram Smith.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of that where they didn't have some big gaping holes there. Again, Tarek Cooper, short tackle in the backfield, tackle for loss, and that will end the first quarter. Pretty good for the Baylor Bears.
It's been over 700 days since Baylor has had a crowd here in Waco for a non-conference opponent. Tonight, the SWAC has paid a visit, and Baylor has greeted them rudely. Plenty of offense, plenty of enthusiasm from the sea of green and gold. All Baylor after one. On ESPN Plus, Saturday night in Waco. They love their football, and they are excited. The possibilities here in the fall of 21. The Bears, fresh off a performance last week in which they put up 368 yards of offense. Tonight alone in the first quarter, 238, and they're looking to tack on more here as Bohannon rolls right. Good pursuit defense by Walker. Pickup of 2.
Yeah, the early schedule for them, a win a week ago and playing extremely well tonight, and then on the road at Kansas, a team that they normally have a pretty easy time with. And then the hopes that would set up for a big matchup against Iowa State here back in a couple weeks, but it looks like Iowa State's gonna fall in the Cyhawk once again today.
Iowa with a late lead over the Cyclones. Texas behind early to Arkansas. Sam Pittman and company for the Razorbacks. 3rd down and 7. Let's see if the Tigers bring a blitz. They send one linebacker. Now a delayed blitz comes. Bohannon gets rid of it. Good open field tackle. Catch is made by Smith.
Marquise Walker there, he identified exactly what was happening and was able to get there and put him down. And again, here's that, the analytics part of it. And I've been hearing about it for the last couple years. I think, Coach Napier down at Louisiana was one of the first to really adapt to it. And now you're seeing more coaches go to the numbers here. And when it's 4th down, go for it. We saw it a lot with Ohio State today as well.
Bring in the big extra blocking tight end. That is Gavin Yates, and keeping it over the left side, Smith, and another 4th down conversion. This just has to be driving defensive coordinator Jeffrey Caesar nuts. They're so close to getting off the field, they just can't quite get there.
And there they had good penetration. They had guys in the backfield, but they were able to push one guy out of the way in a gap, and he was able to explode through for a 1st down.
Their 3rd, 4th down conversion today. Ironically, all 3 times it's been Smith keeping the drive alive. Fresh set of downs from the 44. Bohannon wants the deep ball, nothing open downfield. Now he'll try to improvise, and there is nowhere to go. Julian Marcantel chased him, but the play actually started with the corners and the safety downfield.
And you had a guy, if he were able to win over the top, exactly what Baylor wanted and Coach Grimes wanted with those deep play action plays. Good for Bohannon not to try to make a mistake, force a throw. He was able to get back to the line of scrimmage, live to fight another day, and he's going to need to do that when you get into Big 12 play.
Bohannon 6 of 7 for 89 yards, including the long touchdown pass to Thornton. Whips it far side. That's a tough throw across the field, incomplete. Setting up a 3rd down. He was looking for R.J. Sneed for the first time. Sneed, the veteran receiver. I mean, you look at this receiving corps. Sneed, Thornton, Josh Fleeks, a lot of experience. Their top 7 receivers back from last year. Bohannon had 15 completions last week, all 15 to a returnee.
They have the talent. They have the skill position players, and they got a new offensive scheme with Gary Bohannon. It's a matter of their execution week in and week out.
Option look. Ebner gets to the corner, makes a defender miss, and a 1st down run to the 28. 16 yards for Ebner, who's closing in on 100 yards in this 1st half.
Again, his ability to stay balanced, yet still go forward, making a guy miss. Here, watch. As he explodes by the tackler dips his head. He's able to sidestep him a little bit and get an extra 8 or 9 yards on it because of it.
That puts him over 100 yards already in this game. Just inside 12 minutes to go. Bohannon over the middle, pass caught. Sneed spins on his pivot foot and then is hit from behind and punished there. Good hard hit delivered by Andre Gibbs, but another Baylor 1st down.
One of the biggest changes since my playing days in college football is when the quarterback receives the ball in the shotgun and doesn't really take a drop, he really gets to, see the field much better. He gets to see what everybody's doing, and sure enough, right there, he was allowing R.J. Sneed to find the opening in the zone, and he was perfect with his pass location.
And if you're going to do that, you better have really good pass protection, and he hasn't been touched tonight. Over the right side, running to the field side. This is Ebner scratching and clawing for 4 up near the 10-yard line. Gibbs again from a safety spot. Another tackle.
I got to give this Texas Southern team a lot of credit, especially on the defensive side, because they're going to be on the field a lot tonight. They're continuing to fight, right? Their pursuit has been good. Right now, the difference is simply the depth and talent. At the Power 5 level is just different enough to make it more difficult for them.
3 receivers left. Jackson Gleason is checked into the game for Baylor on this 2nd down play. Smith is the running back. Bohannon looks his direction. Nothing there. Now Bohannon's going to try to duck and run. Dives for the end zone. Did he get in? Yes, he did. Touchdown, Baylor.
Gary Bohannon brings a different element to defenses when you're scheming it up. Here, he's looking for his wide receiver, Jackson Gleason, who gets this held in the end zone, so he puts it down, pulls it down, and dives forward, extends his arm across the goal line to get the touchdown.
His first rushing touchdown of his career, Gary Bohannon. Won a tight three-way battle this summer when you look at Jacob Zeno and Blake Chapin. A lot of people around Waco thought it might be Zeno getting the nod, but Bohannon outdueled the two of them, earned the starting job. Put in a solid performance last week on the road in San Marcos and clearly in control here. He's used to throwing them for the first time in his career. He uses his feet, the last-second effort. Baylor putting up big numbers. Plenty of offensive firepower tonight for Baylor. It all started with Abram Smith, a 20-yard touchdown run, part of this offense that has uncorked over 180 yards rushing. And then the deep ball. This is what they wanted to see from Bohannon, a strike to Tyquan Thornton. And then not one, but two rushing touchdowns, his first two rushing scores of his career. Gary Bohannon able to find it from 10 yards out. Plenty of offense so far, and a big reason the addition of Jeff Grimes in the offseason. He was brought in January to replace Larry Fedora. Last year at BYU, his offense third in the country in scoring at 43 points per game, seventh in total offense, and the wide zone scheme that he has used for so many years working through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he also knows how to develop quarterbacks. There was a guy that no one was really talking about named Zach Wilson before the season started, ends up being the number 2 overall draft pick to the New York Jets.
Not only did Baylor bring in Grimes, but they also brought the BYU offensive line coach from a year ago as well, and Eric Mateos.
Well, with what they do offensively in terms of how they utilize their splits in that zone scheme when they run the football, it's best to have the guy that teaches that, and he's up front coaching these offensive linemen to do the same here in Baylor.
Texas Southern, 33 yards of offense tonight. Just not able to keep up with Baylor, who has scored in all 4 of their possessions.
Body's back in for his second series here to start the second quarter.
His quick throws as he swings it out to Jonathan Giles, and he is tripped up immediately. Giles is a really good story. This is actually his third meeting against Baylor. His previous 2 games in 2015 and 16, caught 7 balls for 120 yards. That's back when he was in Lubbock playing for Texas Tech, catching passes from, you guessed it, Patrick Mahomes.
Pretty good experience to come into a locker room with catching balls from the MVP.
Body tried to bring the throw back. It's Giles again. Giles started his career in Lubbock, then made the move to Baton Rouge at LSU, tried to get his career going there. Just never really took off. Even had the prize number 7 jersey for the Tigers. Spent just 1 season with LSU before making the decision to come back home. He's been around the Texas Southern campus since he was 7 years old. His father, Lonzo, the head video coordinator for this football program. So finally, Lonzo a chance to watch his son play. 3rd down and 10. Body trying to set up the screen, and Baylor snipped it out.
Your quarterback doesn't even know where he's throwing the ball.
Looked like they tried to sneak Kevin Harris out of the backfield. Dylan Doyle, the honorable mention all Big 12 linebacker, wise to that old trick.
They had a good play call on there. When you have that kind of pressure and are being overwhelmed in the backfield, running the screen is a great offensive play, but it was just a tremendous job on their part of finding the running back that sneaked out of the backfield and was there to extinguish the drive for the Tigers.
Hey, number 10, bandanas belonging out of base, not the football field.
Good kick here by Evans. Spiraling kick. Ebner lost it. Opportunity for the Tigers. Ball still loose. Walker had a chance. The scrum continues, and let's see how they umpile it. Oh, Marquise Walker had a glorious opportunity to pounce on it, and it slithered right underneath them, and it's picked up by Barnes.
Rolling on the field. The punt was muffed by
you don't see this too often from Ebner.
Team. First down, Baylor.
Texas Southern with an opportunity, but they just couldn't put the clamps on it. Baylor keeps control.
Unbelievable that team under Cliff Kingsbury wasn't able to win more games, but they were just so dynamic offensively, which when you have that defensively, you tend to be in the other direction.
Weaving through the defense is Abram Smith. This ground game, Ebner with 113 rushing. Smith has over 50 yards. And on the other side for Texas Southern, a quiet offensive night from Giles and these Tigers. They knew it was going to be tough treading.
When we talked to the coaches this week, and he talked about inheriting this schedule, Coach McKinney kind of said it in tongue in cheek, but there's truth in that.
Yeah, next week they have Rice, so back-to-back FBS opponents for a young Tiger team. First down and 10, and Bohannon slips away. High tackle that time coming in from Texas Southern, Julian Marcantel. He's a sure tackler. Knocked him down. But yeah, Clarence McKinney knew this was going to be a challenging stretch. They had the Labor Day Classic last weekend. And now you get Baylor and Rice in back-to-back weeks before the SWAC opener October 9th.
Bohannon there, probably one of the first times he kind of made a mistake and not pitched that ball and kept it on his own.
Texas Southern rushes forward, slipping free out of the backfield. He's done quite a bit of this in his career in Waco. Ebner all the way up to the 41-yard line. 21 more yards for one of the best catching the football out of the backfield wearing the Baylor green.
Yeah, and what we didn't talk about a lot was Ebner's ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. We talked about how great they were in the running game, but Tristan Ebner does a tremendous job of catching the ball out of the backfield, which makes him a great utility back.
Another catch by Ebner. That time pressure coming from Michael Badejo, and he just put a big hit on Bohannon. But yeah, Ebner, one of the best. In fact, he leads all active FBS running backs in career receiving yards, so he has certainly been a weapon in that realm. Over 1,200 receiving yards. Take a look at what he has done, not just with the return game, but as a running back, running the football and also catching it.
Yeah, first player ever in Baylor history with both 1,000 career rushing yards and 1,000 career receiving yards.
Second down and 12, misdirection play. Abram Smith, his vertical downhill running. He hits the hole hard. Setting up a third and short.
When you run this gap scheme and you're able to push out the defensive players and open up zones, you don't know where that hole is going to open. And when you have somebody like Abram Smith who does a tremendous job of planting that foot and getting north and south, that's where the big explosive plays happen. And we've seen a lot of it so far in this first half.
And you're going to see Baylor run a lot to the left side behind their tackle, Connor Galvin, preseason all Big 12 selection. They think he will be playing on Sundays in the not too distant future. Third down and short, play designed to go left. Smith cuts it back up. See you later. Touchdown, Abram Smith.
Boy, this running back combination of Smith and Ebner, whatever you want to call it, a two-headed monster, they are explosive. The offensive line is giving him wonderful opportunity, of course, with the holes, but when they make a decision, they trust themselves and they plant that foot and go. Here's a perfect example. Watch this as it's off left tackle, but he comes back and then plants that foot, rolls right by Calvin Henderson, and with the speed of Smith, he's off to the races.
Isaiah Hankins is at a busy first half. The freshman kicker is 5 for 5. An offensive line led by Eric Mateos in his first year coaching this group. For Dave Aranda, it's a physical group, it's a versatile group. Xavier Newman-Johnson, the big kick-out block, the cutback from Smith, his second rushing score of the night. Baylor in control. Like the rest of the country a season ago, McLean Stadium limited to about 25% capacity last fall. Different story here in 2021. Chance to walk around the campus earlier today. It's the one campus that has a bear cage right smack dab in the center. Paid a visit to Joy, the big black bear for Baylor. A lot of fans taking some photos, fired up. And yeah, just the energy of football here in Waco back.
Yeah, Sean, the feeling a year ago, though we got to see college football and we got to see national champion crowned, there's just something different to the atmosphere when there is a fan base, when you have the sound of the music coming through the speakers and the reaction, not only from the players, but the fans in unison when good things and big things happen in a stadium built for it.
And Dave Aranda talked about that point with the media, saying, I don't know what to expect. I'm anxious. This is the first time he's experienced the Saturday night crowd in Waco. Jalen Brown back in as quarterback as Texas Southern starts this series at the 25. Jeff Proctor, who has been their most effective runner among the quartet of backs. Cole Maxwell, the tackle.
It's got to be disappointing, too, when you're Texas Southern and you practice and practice and practice and you go through the things that you get better at every single day, and you just run up against a buzzsaw like this defense coached by Ron Roberts and Dave Aranda. It's just a difficult thing to navigate.
Terrell Bernard, the tackle for Baylor, setting up a third down. Bernard fully healthy from his injury last year. Torn labrum, a fractured shoulder, that tough injury he sustained against Iowa State. And before that injury, Ryan, he was as dominant as they came on that side of the ball, leading the conference, double-digit tackles, around 11 per game.
Yeah, he's pretty special. In Ron Roberts' defense, they really utilize the 4 down linemen to get pressure, to take up space, and allow these linebackers like Terrell Bernard and Dylan Doyle, Matt Jones to run and make those tackles. They expect it from those guys in the middle.
Third downs have not been kind to Texas Southern until now. Giles makes a terrific catch, a throw behind him, but he made the adjustment. His third reception today and a first down for the Tigers.
And again, they get a first down. They like to get a little more up-tempo. Run pass option here. What a block by Proctor. I don't know if you saw that on the edge there. Flipped him over, did a little acrobatic maneuver there, and they get the first down.
You bring up a good point with these linebackers, their ability to flow to the football. And one of the big gets this offseason for Baylor in the transfer portal was Siaki Ika, the 350-pound giant, the sophomore from Salt Lake City. He was part of the 2019 national championship team for LSU. Not in uniform tonight. Baylor has released the statement, unavailable tonight due to a violation of team rules. They will continue to handle this matter internally and in accordance with university protocols. No further comment on his status moving forward. Second down, trying to get to the outside, but he was denied getting there. That was Jones who cut off the outside, and then Doyle, speaking of linebackers, flying to the football, bringing him down.
Yeah. Siaki Ika, you were just talking about. There's always consequences to actions, and I think Dave Aranda in his second year, even though he is probably one of their best football players, when those types of things come up, and as a new head coach establishing what we're going to be about, what kind of team we're going to be, he puts his foot down, and I think the team sees that.
Blitz off the edge, picked up nicely by Proctor, and then nearly a pick six for Jones.
Well, that's why he's not playing tight end, Sean. He's playing linebacker, because you eat with those hands? No, that was an opportunity right there. Perfect job of him spotting it, releasing out there. Quarterback didn't even see him, and he just is not able to corral that ball in. Hands immediately go to the head. That is the international sign for, oh no.
And he's still shaking his head, a little bit of a smile, but he knew that was going to be showtime. All he had was the student body in gold on the hill behind him. Busy night for Evans, gets the kick away. He's had a good night. This time Ebner with the fair catch after having some difficulties the last time. All Baylor here, a little opportunity to work on the 2-minute drill. Bohannon in his second start, looking sharp. Plenty of offense, 5 for 5. They have scored on all 5 of their possessions. Add it all up, 378 yards of offense in the first half. And situational football now, Ryan, with the opportunity. Clearly this game well in control, but they're going to probably work on their 2-minute offense. Again, the Big 12 opener next week. Bohannon will roll and throw, and it's caught out of the backfield. Making the catch, the tight end, Sims.
Wonderful catch. Sticks that big mitt out there and was able to reel it in. Great first play call on a 2-minute drill. A play action, usually a boot, something where you can get the offense flowing a little bit. They pick up 5 yards, gets out of bounds, stops the clock for a second before they ramp it up again.
12 personnel for Baylor, a running back, 2 tight ends, Dabney and Sims, the 2 ends. Shot down the far sideline, one-on-one coverage, and what a catch! Holy smoke, Sneed with one hand, and a defender draped all over him makes the catch.
Sean, every time in a game where I had one-on-one to the open field like this is where I was going. When you got a guy with R.J. Sneed's ability, watch him just box himself away from the defender and use that one arm to pull it in, OBJ style.
Yeah, if you're Isaiah Hamilton, I don't know what else you can do there. 26 yards on the completion to Sneed. Ball popped loose late as the running back coughed it up, and then Gall, the center, jumped on it.
That was probably the only red flag or red mark a week ago was a fumble by this great running back crew. Other than that, they've been absolutely dominant since this season opened up.
Yeah, it was Abram Smith last week on the very first touch for him. He fumbled it, able to bounce back. Bohannon looking deep, hit as he throws, looking for Thornton, a lot of contact, and it's knocked away. Ja'Cory Benjamin just played the ball beautifully.
And if Bohannon would have had a chance to get his full body into that throw, most likely it's for a touchdown. Watch as his body steps into the pocket. He just gets hit as he lets it go. That ball fluttered a little in the air, makes Thornton come back for it, and a great play on defense to knock it away.
Benjamin was part of McKinley's first recruiting class. Signed with McKinley as part of the class. Started as a freshman a year ago. One of their top cover corners. 3rd down and short, and a 1st down carry over the left side for Smith. Michael Badejo, another stop.
3 timeouts. You get a relief of the clock here after a 1st down. They're not in any hurry, knowing that they can throw the ball anywhere. They can run it with the timeouts that they have. This is a perfect situational football that you were talking about to start this series.
Texas Southern allowed to bring their 2 substitutes in. Marcantel checks back in from his linebacker position. Tigers rush 4. Bohannon puts some zip on it, and it's just wide of the intended target. Hal Presley, the backup receiver, getting his first target tonight.
And because of that, because Bohannon and him may have not had a lot of opportunities together, it looks like he extended his route a little bit. But, of course, I'm the quarterback, so I usually always put the blame on the wide receiver. So
it's never the gunslinger's fault, right?
At least we don't think so.
And Baylor with all 3 timeouts. 27 seconds to go. They bring a blitz off the edge. It's picked up along the side. Planted is the tight end Sims, who's been active in this first half. Good job there by Hamilton with the tackle. And Baylor, let's see if they use a timeout. They will.
Now that's a perfect opportunity, though, Sean. Right
Baylor,
there, in a teaching opportunity. You catch the ball on the sideline like that, just step out of bounds. You weren't going to get any more yards. Then you get to save all the timeouts. So, again, this is a perfect opportunity for Dave Aranda and Jeff Grimes when they watch the film tomorrow to talk to him about, hey, when we're in this situation again, just step out of bounds. Watch as he hits a wide-open receiver there, and Sims, all he has to do right now is take it up the field, let them knock him out of bounds. Instead, he rallies back and gets tackled in bounds. They have to use a timeout and really waste one here when he really doesn't get any more yards. Now, I have some bias experience in this, all right? Final play of the 98 Rose Bowl. We're driving. Our third string running backs in the game because both of their guys get hurt. And I tell them in the huddle, I said, I don't care what you do, just get out of bounds. We don't have any timeouts left. And just instinct takes over, right? Yeah. He plants his foot right by the out of bounds marker, cuts back in, gets about 10 more yards, gets pulled down. We have 2 seconds left. I get up and spike it. Clock runs out. We lose the Rose Bowl at the 26-yard line, 21-16, and the national championship slips away to the Michigan Wolverines.
Don't get the opportunity to take one final shot. Third down here for Bohannon. Man, he has had time all night. Thornton makes the catch, and he is wrestled out of bounds. Let's see if he stepped out. First down catch by Thornton. They are going after Hamilton on this particular drive.
And when you get man-to-man coverage like that, anytime you can run any kind of in and outs, that's just winning football right there. And sure enough, Thornton does a great job of pulling Isaiah Hamilton inside and then really extends back out. Good position, good throw by Bohannon.
Baylor's perfect in the red zone, 3 for 3 tonight. 12 seconds. They still have the 2 timeouts, so they don't necessarily need to think end zone here. Play fake. Bohannon looking down the middle, takes a shot down the middle, wide open. Thornton, he has number 2. $80 yards, a little more than 2 minutes. I'd say a successful 2-minute drill.
Yeah, exactly what you talked about. Just an opportunity in situational football. He just gets lost in the action. Marquise Walker goes the other direction, and no one is in the middle of the field as Thornton is wide open in the back of the end zone. Bohannon finds him, extends the lead to 41-0 before the halftime break.
Thornton has had a real solid career in Waco. Last year he saw his production drop. He had a sound 2019 season, led the team with 5 touchdowns, 45 catches. Last year that production really dropped off. A chip on his shoulder entering his senior year from Miami, Florida. A couple of touchdown passes that he has hauled in. He's their home run hitter. He's the deep ball threat.
Again, here's an opportunity. Bohannon really eyes that position and sees the guy just flat out come open in the back of the end zone. Gives him a chance. No one around. Bohannon goes up, or Thornton goes up and uses his hands. As you can see here, the leader as he runs off the field here. Pretty darn perfect first half. 6 for 6 in terms of having the football and getting in the end zone. When they go watch the film, there probably isn't going to be much to coach up on heading into Lawrence next week.
I mean, you take a look at the offensive production, 458 yards of offense. Bohannon, a very efficient 14 of 18 for 187. For the second straight week, both Ebner and Smith have eclipsed the 100-yard mark, and they've done it in the first half. So everything clicking offensively tonight.
And I expect this to be the kind of game that you're going to expect from Gary Bohannon, where it's not going to be a 300-yard passing night because they're going to run the ball extremely well, and when he gets his opportunities in play action to take some shots, that's where they're going to be explosive plays. So this is almost exactly how Dave Aranda wants this offense to run with the way his defensive complements it.
Texas Southern on the return as time expires in this first half, and now you get some frustration over on the sideline. Both teams there tangled up.
That's the end of the half.
What a show by Baylor after one half of football. All Bears tonight in Waco. Don't forget, coming up, where were you 20 years ago? The impact 9/11 had on college football. Not too many sights beat a Texas sunset along the Brazos River just outside McLean Stadium in Waco. The Bears rolling over Texas Southern 42-0 as we get ready to start the second half alongside Ryan Leaf. Sean Kinney with you tonight. Big 12 football here on ESPN+. Bears have not given the Tigers an opportunity to return a kick tonight, so a Texas Southern offense getting ready to go to work. Just the 52 yards of offense in the first half. They have used 2 different quarterbacks. Jalen Brown, the starter. Andrew Body had a couple of good series mixed in, but they will go with the redshirt freshman from nearby Austin to begin quarter number 3.
Well, when we talked to coaches this week, they were going to have packages in play for Andrew Body, but he clearly has been the more efficient quarterback tonight, if you can consider 52 yards and a half efficient. But 4 for 5 passing and carrying the football, 3 carries for 24 yards. He's been the offense for the Tigers.
First down play, and they will go to Proctor on the ground, and he is met by Bernard.
A little surprised starting defense is still out there, but understandably so in terms of what we were talking about at the end of the first half. How do you go into halftime? How do you prepare? How do you make some changes? Situationally, you come back out, see if you can get your body warmed up, similarly to what the pros do in preseason game number 3.
2.2 yards per carry tonight for the Texas Southern offense. Second down and 9. Brown with some time. He zips it toward the sideline. Caught. Really good throw there by Jalen Brown. The offensive line gave him protection, and Jiron Johnson able to make the first down catch.
Jiron Johnson, a 6'4" wide receiver, has plenty of big arm radius, catch radius. Here's a perfect example. He runs just a corner route. Petrie, look how fast he gets over there to make the hit, but good throw and catch here to open up the second half.
Yeah, Johnson's just a great big target, a 6'8" wingspan to go along with that 6'4" body. Yards after contact for Proctor, and a late flag flies as Raleigh Tejada might have got a hand up around the face mask. It's been a quiet night for Tejada. They really haven't thrown his way. He's one of the top cover corners in the Big 12.
Yeah, and only a freshman. Excited for what his career holds for this youngster out of Frisco, Texas.
Comes from a football family when you look at Raleigh Tejada as they sort out the penalty.
Personal foul, face mask, offense number 21, 15-yard penalty, still first down.
Oh, so it happens away from the action, and it's the running back, Jeff Proctor. That's interesting. Try to take a look at what happened here.
He gets his fingers caught in there. That's the only difference, right? If his hand would have stayed open, if his palm would have stayed open, instead it looks like it curled underneath the face mask right in front of the official there. Good call.
So this puts Texas Southern behind the chains, now back at the 35-yard line, so they are looking at first and long. Bears have mixed up their blitz look. They will bring Doyle here. They quickly swing it outside, making the catch, but going nowhere is Ja'Cory Howard. JT Woods, first one to hit him.
Jonathan Giles does a great job of cutting the defender here, but the defender turns into Superman and absolutely flies into the wide receiver's feet and takes him out. It's a wonderful play. The explosive nature of this defense has got to have Dave Aranda and Ron Roberts just ecstatic about what the future holds for this Baylor defense.
Yeah, you look at guys like Woods and Petrie and Morgan, Barnes, Tejada, so much experience, really slow developing play, and this Baylor defense will feast all over that.
I can't tell you how great it is as a coach, and especially as a player or a guy as a captain, watching your defensive cohorts fly around the football field, because they're just not thinking. They know exactly what they're going to do. They see their keys and they go after it and trust themselves.
Read, react, and Baylor is really good at that. Dylan Doyle, Chidi Obanaya in on that last tackle for loss. Third down, 24. Here comes a corner blitz. It's picked up. Down the seam they go, and the pass is caught by Johnson. It's going to be shy of the first down. Terrific job of picking up the blitz, and a good, strong throw by Jalen Brown.
That's exactly right, Sean. Perfect job. Watch him pick up the blitz. The running back does a tremendous job of stopping that. Looks like the ball may have got tipped just a little bit by Bernard, and then Jiron Johnson's able to catch it, and they're going to go for it on fourth down at midfield.
0 for 1 tonight, Texas Southern on fourth downs. They have watched Baylor convert on all 3 of their fourth down tries. Ja'Cory Howard, the running back, will put 2 receivers left, 2 split to the near side. Keep an eye on Jiron Johnson, such a good body control receiver.
Delay of game. Offense number 11, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Interesting take, Cotton. It's from dodgeball.
I was ready to go. Yeah,
Were you ready to go there?
I was ready. I was dodging the dodgeball you threw me, but yeah.
What why take the delay of game there?
Well, I'm not sure David Marsh was expecting to take it. He did not look happy, the offensive coordinator. And yeah, in a close game, obviously you take it, give your punter more room to work, but in a blowout situation where you're looking for reps now.
Well, you got a guy that can bomb at 55 yards.
Yeah, interesting
philosophy. We'll see how it works out.
In the words of Vince Vaughn himself, right? All right, here's the punt. Spiraling kick. Really good night tonight for Sawyer Evans. And Ebner with the fair catch. He's really neutralized one of the more explosive return men in the country. Tough night offensively for Texas Southern. Their defense looking to go back to work when we come back. Certainly a special night here inside McLean Stadium. Earlier tonight, the 2021 National Championship Baylor men's basketball team honored. What a run it was for Baylor en route to capturing their first men's basketball national title. Took down Gonzaga 86-70 inside Lucas Oil Stadium, denying the Zags the first perfect season in 45 years. Head coach Scott Drew and company, what a job he's done since arriving in Waco in 2003. A major rebuild job, really like any other in college basketball, and the celebration. And tonight, the presentation of the trophy and their championship rings. Look at that Baylor team. Jared Butler scoring 22 points in the national title game. Mark Vidal grabbing every rebound, it seemed. Just a incredible run, a special moment, certainly for this university.
Yeah, and then when you talk about where the expansion of the Big 12 is going to go, people forget it's always about the football expansion, the basketball programs that are now going to be a part of the Big 12 in a couple of years, in particular the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, Houston over the last few years, a Final Four team a year ago. Everybody who followed that program knew it was coming, and they are here. And now making the switch from the American to the Big 12. We'll talk more about that expansion, dive into it deeper here in the second half as Abram Smith tumbles into Isaiah Hamilton. First down run for Smith, who carried the ball 11 times in the first half for 117 yards. One number 7 colliding with another there. Hamilton, the youngster. Smith, the senior running back for Baylor. See Baylor use a little bit more of this play clock up comfortably as Bohannon bootleg right, rolls right, throws off his back foot. He's hit as he threw it. Falls incomplete.
You know, they don't do too much offensively, right? It could be pretty simple concept, but they do it with so many multiple formations, their ability to move guys around, and then use the athletic ability of Gary Bohannon back there. You know, if you're a defensive coordinator in the Big 12 having to take on this new look Baylor team, it's going to be a bring your lunch pail to work day every single day.
And Jeff Grimes, as they hit Fleeks over the middle with the catch, first down grab, and now he's slippery. He sneaks to the outside. Josh Fleeks. And a big collision as Snead delivered a block and just destroyed Hamilton. You see the receiver blocking downfield for his teammate.
And it almost sprung him. He stepped out right about where that contact happened. They may take a look at this because you cannot block somebody blindsided without them looking. We'll see here. Fleeks does a tremendous job of evading the tackle, and then watch Snead come back. It's pretty good. He doesn't lower his head or anything. He just gets in the way. And Fleeks just steps out of bounds right about the time the contact happens. Tries to tightrope down the sideline. Good addition to the inside slot position there for Fleeks.
New wide receiver coach Chauncey Stuckey is certainly going to enjoy that hustle from his veteran receiver R.J. Snead. Coming back, delivering the block. Injured player for Texas Southern. That's Hamilton, who was on the wrong end of the block from Snead. Injury timeout. Freshman Isaiah Hamilton up, walking off on his own power. He will go into the 10. He's had a busy night. Tell you what, he showed some toughness tonight in that secondary, a young secondary that Texas Southern has put out. The Big 12 all ready for expansion. It's official. BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF all set to join the conference.
Yeah, luckily for me, I was able to, before the game kicked off tonight, go out and listen to Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner of the Big 12 Conference, comment on the decision to approve unanimously those 4 teams and welcome them into the Big 12 fold.
It's like 2023, 2024, the years those 4 schools will all become a part of the conference. Dropping the initial handoff and able to regain it and pick up positive yardage is Hal Presley.
Back to the expansion. They wanted the 4 best teams. That's how they explained it and what they went about in their decisions to invite. Of course, this all stems from the decision by both Oklahoma and Texas to go to the SEC conference. You wonder how the commissioner is going to deal with 12 teams now for the next couple years, and whether they divide them into a couple divisions now in the Big 12.
Yeah, that becomes the next topic of conversation. Ebner able to zigzag his way back and forth, brought down by Tyler Martinez. They're really high on this young man. What I'm curious, when you look at BYU, how does that change their recruiting now that they are into the Big 12 and what they're able to do on the recruiting trail? Traditionally, always bringing in those athletes, always competing. Does it change a little bit now that they're in this conference? That's what I'm going to be curious to see.
I believe so. When you add a Power 5 to it, they always could kind of pull the independent side, but seemingly they played a ton of games in the Mountain West, so they kind of felt like a Mountain West team. Now they're going to have a Power 5 identity. And those recruits that maybe want to bypass them because of some of the restrictions or things on campus because of the BYU codes of regulation, maybe they take another look, and now you get a 4 or 5-star kid that you
Baylor,
may not have
30-second timeout.
You may not have been able to get while they were an independent.
Yeah, that's one of the many intertwining stories moving forward that you just don't know how it's going to shake out. Obviously, Cincinnati, a program that has had so much success the past couple of years. Houston and UCF, big offenses ready to join this conference.
Yeah, the co-national champions from a few years ago, the UCF Central Florida team, as they like to believe. I think it's a great opportunity because for the longest times I just didn't believe a group of 5 team that finished in the top 10 deserved to be in the playoffs simply because they don't play the schedule that Power 5 teams do. Now they get their chance. I always kind of felt like they would probably be an 8-4 or 9-3 squad. Now they have the opportunity to play the best of the best to make that argument to be in the college football playoff down the line.
And you feel for the American Athletic, which is a conference I think has done an outstanding job over the past decade in building momentum. How do they react? Baylor forced to use a timeout. Bohannon puts some air on the throw, lofts it to Ebner, who goes airborne, hurtling into the end zone. Touchdown, Baylor.
You know, this offense reminds me of kind of like the Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan type of offense, where they run those zone concepts up front and then run a ton of play action. Here's one example. They fake the zone and the sweep, and their right is Ebner out of the backfield. Man, I'm envious of the athletic ability of these guys. It feels like 100 years ago when I was out there running around. So I don't know if it makes me feel really old or just makes me envious of the youth that we're seeing playing out tonight.
Well, the eye-popping numbers offensively for Baylor. 544 yards of offense. Ebner extends his school career record. Touchdown receptions by a running back, now at 10.
And the Razorbacks putting them on them in Fayetteville.
Baylor has scored every time they have touched the football offensively tonight. 7 for 7 on their possessions. As we go back to the Big 12 scoreboard, and Texas Tech in a battle with Stephen F. Austin. You see Oklahoma State sneak out a 5-point win. TCU behind some shaky place kicking from Cal. The Horned Frogs survived today.
You know, and we're talking about the Big 12, and we're talking about Texas teams, and you add a fifth Power 5 team, sixth Power 5 team now with Houston coming into the mix. Baylor has 79 wins since 2011. That's third out of the teams in Texas. A&M at 85, TCU at 81. I think that would shock a lot of people, where everybody just assumes the Texas Longhorns are the team that is Texas, but they're not even in the top 3 in terms of wins of over the last decade.
That's a great point, and you look at what Baylor has been able to do throughout the years. This Bear program, third most wins, as Ryan talked about, behind TCU and Texas A&M, and the way they've been able to do it, obviously with the departure of Art Briles, and then Matt Rule comes in, and they have that great 2019 run, representative in the Big 12 championship game. They go on to play in the Sugar Bowl that year, and now it looks like they're back on track with Aranda running the show. Good catch, back shoulder throw by Keelan Davis that time, hauling it in on the perfect strike downfield, one of the rare times they've tested this secondary deep.
And they had 2 guys on him, so Jalen Brown here scoots up in the pocket, and he just gives his receiver a chance here, and sure enough, he comes back and makes the grab.
Davis, a graduate student for Texas Southern. Transfer from Navarro College over the right side, trying to test the waters, push his way ahead for 2, maybe 3 hard-fought yards.
Now we're going to start getting into the depth chart a little bit on the defensive side of the football. What Dave Aranda and Ron Roberts wants to see is the same kind of intensity, the same kind of efficiency. There may not be able to be the same type of talent out there in terms of confidence, knowing exactly what you're going to do when you're flying around, but he wants to see a similar attitude and play that he's gotten out of his ones for almost 3 quarters.
Second down and 8. Jalen Brown zips it far side. Pass is caught. Once again, it's Davis, and a first down for the Tigers up to the 29-yard line.
Keelan Davis, of course, he's their leader in that wide receiver room. He's a guy that's been around for a long time and somebody they go to and look. And unfortunately, he's come up hobbled after that tackle there.
Yeah, he's such a vocal leader for their wideouts. And last week, the offensive coordinator, David Marsh, was talking about how vocal he was with some of his teammates, especially on the outside with Jyron Johnson and the blocking. These receivers called upon to really be a physical presence with what they want to do offensively. And Davis was a guy that was really letting Johnson and some of the other wideouts have it when they weren't doing the job.
No block, no rock, right?
Yeah, that's how it goes. Pretty simple.
I heard Chip Kelly say the same thing here a week ago after their big win over LSU. You want the physicality from the receivers because that's what you need to break big-time runs, and your fellow receivers see it, your offensive coordinator. Here's the injury to Lewis. Just gets pulled down and kind of yanked down there. Looks like he's hopping up all right, but as soon as he kind of puts weight on that foot, that's where he really feels it.
And David Marsh really brought up an interesting point. We've done a lot of these FCS, FBS matchups, and so many times you hear the coaches talk about depth. He said, you know, it's not depth and talent, it's depth and size and maturity that we're facing this year with all these freshmen and sophomores and simply, you know, young men who still haven't quite physically matured, that the key is to get them in the program 3-4 years. You're seeing that with what Chip Kelly's been able to do with UCLA. In fact, he showed them game film from his days at Campbell when they played Coastal Carolina, and the difference that 2 or 3 years can make.
And you want to be able to do that in your recruiting.
Pressure comes, Brown forced to throw it away, nearly sacked.
You want to be able to do that in your recruiting, but unfortunately for programs like Texas Southern, you have to rely a ton on the transfer portal.
You do.
And that may be older guys.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 11. Spot foul. Loss of down. 3rd down.
So that's as good as a sack for Ashton Logan.
When you're dealing with the transfer portal and the recruiting process, you may get guys that have had some maturity, some time in other programs, but not necessarily in your program, your identity. So it's difficult to do that because you want to build from something from inside. The way you recruit, and you have guys there 3 or 4 years. Sometimes it's just a makeshift
way you go about stuff. And when you get a senior-laden team, you hope that you have the right leadership in place to make it go.
Texas Southern confused, and they will be forced to use the timeout.
Timeout. Texas Southern, their first of the half. 30-second timeout.
Don't forget, more exciting Big 12 college football comes your way next Saturday. It's a triple header. We start in Manhattan, Kansas State, in a battle tonight. Will they be 2-0? They take on a really good team from the Mountain West in Nevada. 2:05 Eastern, 1:05 Central. Then we swing it over to Lawrence for the Big 12 opener. Kansas matched up against Baylor. And then under the lights, Texas Tech and FIU, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. For more information about these games as well as other sports across the Big 12, sign up today at ESPNplus.com.
You know, there hasn't been many states I haven't been to. I think Rhode Island is one, and guess where the other is?
I'm guessing Kansas, where you're heading next week.
I always thought Kansas City was in Kansas for the longest time. Of course, I figured out the hard way with my performances in Arrowhead Stadium in Missouri. So this will be the first time that I actually get to go to Kansas. So I'll check that one off as well.
And there is a Kansas City, Kansas, so that we have Kansas City represented both states. All right, Brown's going to take a shot. 50-50 ball into the corner. Really good throw, and Davis unable to reel it in. Good job there by Kalen Barnes with the coverage.
A wonderful throw, too. Jalen Brown just lets this fly. And Kalen Barnes, watch him get his hand on him. Little tug there. That's smart football. And then watch him get his hand right in the way of Davis there. And couldn't have asked for better coverage, better throw, or a chance to catch it. It was great play and just solid defense.
Yeah, they're happy to have a healthy Barnes back this year. He played a good chunk of last season with a broken hand. 4th down and 17. Here's a throw toward the side, incomplete. He was looking for Giles. Good coverage by the secondary, and they will give it up on downs. Career start number 2 for Gary Bohannon. And Ryan, they wanted to take some shots downfield. He missed some opportunities last week. This was a perfect strike to Thornton.
Yeah, and then what he can do with his feet, I think, is what sets him apart from the other quarterbacks that had a chance to be the starter this year. He scores 2 touchdowns on the ground with his feet. There finds a wide open Thornton for another touchdown. Wonderful night for him as he calls it one, and we see his backup enter the game.
Jacob Zeno into the game. Bohannon's night is done. Take a look at what he has done tonight. 17 of 23, the 247 through the air, 3 touchdown passes, plus he rushed for an additional 2. You know, assess his performance when you get ready to jump into Lawrence next week in the Big 12 opener. Where do you think Bohannon sits with this offense?
I think he sits pretty darn good. If I'm Dave Aranda and I'm Jeff Grimes and I'm watching this film and thinking about expectations for this team moving forward, you got to feel like you're in pretty good hands.
Well, speaking of good hands, Ebner is that. His 4th catch of the night, his biggest catch of the night. Takes it all the way to the Texas Southern 25.
You know, the dynamic ability of both these running backs. Watch this. This is just a little kind of fake angle there, and he sets up behind the right tackle who eases out, gets the block, and he puts the rest on his shoulders there. What a dynamic player. Both these running backs are going to bring a ton to the table for Jeff Grimes' offense this year in the Big 12.
Jacob Zeno under center. They are approaching the Tiger red zone again. Rolls right. Zeno being flush from the pocket. He's trying to direct a block downfield, and then he paid the price. And a flag flies.
They're going to go with the targeting here, most likely. Helmet-to-helmet contact.
I think that was Nicholas Cole coming in.
Personal foul, targeting, defense number 33. The previous play is under further review.
Stand corrected Xavier Goins, the freshman from Crowley, Texas.
Yeah, he gets an opportunity here, and
Yep.
you know, just puts his head down. Now, people are going to complain about the offensive player when they go to protect themselves. They lower their head as well. But if Goins there just keeps his head up, no matter what, if he comes in with his head up and sees what he's hitting, they can't call it targeting because he'll go face mask to helmet there. That's all they want, is they want players to see what they're hitting, and that changes the decision-making by the officials at every moment. And that's difficult. That's hard, especially when the guy you're going to hit to is trying to protect themselves, which usually means lowering their shoulder and their head, making their neck and shoulders more exposed to a hit.
Yeah, and we have seen through the first 2 weeks of this college football season, fans have been infuriated with some of the targeting calls, but again, the rules are the rules. This is one of those calls where it's a no-doubter, the way he approaches. So, I mean, when you scripted up the targeting call, that's the type of collision you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, there's an indicator. There is a direct crown of the helmet contact to the neck and shoulder area of the runner. And people think, you know, that it's punitive against the player, and it is. It's extremely punitive against the player, the team. Now he's out for the first half of next week's game as well.
After further review, the ruling on the field of targeting is confirmed. Number 33 for Texas Southern is disqualified for the remainder of the game. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
Now, I don't like the immediate ejection of the player as the rule. I want that to be revisited, of course, because it's just too punitive. If you remember the national championship a couple years ago with Clemson losing their middle linebacker, the game significantly changed because of that. You don't want that to happen simply because of an accidental way you go about making a tackle. You know, you give them a firm 15-yard penalty, and you get like a personal foul 1, like you do in the NBA where you get flagrant fouls 1 and 2.
Yeah, we saw Asheem Young of Iowa State get the targeting call in the first quarter of the opening drive in the Big 12 championship game last year against Oklahoma. Throw off the mark. They were looking for Tyquan Thornton, who's already caught a couple of touchdowns today. Good look at Jacob Zeno, sophomore from San Antonio, Texas. He played 1 game last year off the bench against Oklahoma State. Played 3 games 2 years ago, including the Sugar Bowl, where he completed 4 passes. Threw an 81-yard touchdown pass. The Big 12 championship game a couple of years ago to the guy he just handed the football off to, and Tristan Ebner.
It's good to have a backup quarterback that's got some experience, right? Who's played in big moments and big games, because guess what? You know, no matter what happens, there can be moments throughout the season because of how physical a game football is where your quarterback needs a spell. And if you have somebody who's got some experience, the team feels more comfortable when that guy steps on the field that you're going to be okay, that you're going to be able to weather the storm if need be.
They can still pick up a first down here. 3rd down and 9. The Tigers rush 5, and for the first time tonight, they get to the quarterback. Isaiah Hamilton. Boy, you know, this guy has just been all over the field, and good for him to get in there and get the sack for Texas Southern.
Undersized cornerback at only 167 pounds, but there he stutters a little bit and then goes after the quarterback. That is the difference between Zeno and Bohannon right now. Bohannon didn't hold on to the ball once tonight. He really let it fly.
Isaiah Hankins on for the field goal. He was 2 of 3 last week. He's been perfect on PATs, and he remains perfect tonight. His first field goal attempt is good. The All-State soccer player at Little Rock Christian. Pretty good start to his young career for Baylor.
I've always liked lefty kickers.
Yeah, I do too. Something about it.
I held for a guy named Aaron Price, for Tony the Toe Truant is what we called him. I held for him my sophomore year. He was a lefty kicker. I always thought for whatever reason they had a boot.
Now, how picky are these kickers? You know, we always talk about your quarterback experience. Let's hear about the holding experience.
Yeah, we were a good battery. We had a great long snapper. You know, I could catch it with one hand and get it down. Unfortunately, you know, Coach didn't want to take the chance that Mr. Tony the Toe would kick the the hand of his
the golden hand.
The golden hand, I guess. But I liked doing it. The only thing I didn't like is that I had to go to all the special teams meetings.
I was going to say, you doubled up your time inside on those meetings.
Yeah,
I bet.
and sometimes you just, back in the day where we had 3-a-days and one of them was a special teams practice, I still had to put on all the pads and go out and do the practice. So I smartened up. I figured out, okay, no more special teams, just the regular 2 practices a day and the quarterback meetings.
Not sure I would want to hold the ball for this guy. He has a cannon of a leg, and he just continues to send the ball sailing. You talk about unsung heroes in a football game, and Noah Rauschenberg, I know tonight not a big deal, but when you start playing the Big 12 games and you have a weapon like him that can just keep sending the ball through each and every time, what a great luxury that is for Baylor.
It is. You know, you talked about unsung heroes, and today being September 11th, the 20th anniversary of the despicable terrorist attack on our country, I thought it would be apropos that we spoke about it. And my story with that day is, like anybody else's, unique in their own way. Mine, I was just cut by the Dallas Cowboys. Or I was just cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and picked up by the Dallas Cowboys, and I failed my physical. And I wanted to get away. So I flew back to Montana, my home state, and me and some buddies went hunting for elk. And that morning, we got up real early and went, and because of the 2-hour time change, we heard that there was something had happened in New York, but we didn't know. We went into the mountains, and we didn't come out until Friday. So we had no idea.
Oh, my goodness.
What had transpired. We showed up at my brother's high school football game, and there was a moment of silence, and everybody was holding these American flags. And it was because of football that I realized what had happened. And I talked to my father, and the devastation of not knowing, right? And then what had happened. It's for somebody also who I think took freedom for granted for a long, long time, and myself. It's important to remember and understand and be so grateful for the sacrifices of so many that day.
Yeah, it was one of those days as an American you just felt helpless, watching everything unfold, not knowing what was going to be in store next. And for our generation, we remember, for a lot of these players we're watching, many of them were not even born. So to see the 20-year remembrance tonight and to see these student athletes, step up and really appreciate, like you said, our freedom that we take for granted each and every day.
They
take a look at halftime earlier, the Baylor student body with the blending of the American flag along with the names of some of the victims that we lost on that tragic day in American history. What a sight that is. A moment of silence during halftime. Each one of those white cards with a name that we so tragically lost.
And to your point, these players, most of them weren't even alive.
Yep.
And it's important to understand history. And when you wear the BU on the side of your helmet in the colors of the red, white, and blue, there's a reason for it tonight. And I think it's incredibly important that they understand what that means and the fact that they're getting to play this game. You and I sat up here before the broadcast, and we kind of looked at each other and said, how lucky are we? And the gratitude we live in, because we get to call college football games like this, and it's because of the sacrifices of not only the first responders that day.
There is no foul for an eligible downfield on a pass. Second down.
But the military over the last 20 years and in the history of our life and the sacrifices that they've given us the opportunity to be able to do things like this.
I know your father a veteran, my grandfather a veteran, just cannot thank them enough, all who have served. Texas Southern with a good-looking drive, and into the secondary goes the big 230-pound sophomore, Ja'Cory Howard, carrying Bear defenders with him. First down run, and here come the Tigers late in this third quarter.
That's the end of the third quarter.
This is a good look at the 6'1", 225-pounder that just lowers the boom. Good for them.
Yeah, Jaron McVay wondering what hit him. A runaway Tiger to close out this third quarter, but it's been the Bears clearly in control. Plenty of offense, all Baylor, as we march to the fourth in Waco. 576 yards later on a Saturday night inside McLean Stadium, Baylor has put up 52 through the first three quarters. We welcome you inside McLean Stadium, the home opener for Baylor, in control over their SWAC opponent, Texas Southern. But the Tigers with a good-looking drive as they have 1st and 10 at the Baylor 35. They will hand the ball off, and Ja'Cory Howard to the 20. Howard to the 10, lowers the pads. Man, I love how he finishes his runs. 20 more yards, 1st and goal.
You gotta love the ability of this Tigers team just to keep margin, and if you're Coach McKinney, you have to feel good about it too.
Coming down the line that time was Bernard, losing a lid, the offensive lineman Trayvon Robinson, so he vacates the field. A little bit of pep in the step for Clarence McKinney and this offense on this drive inside the red zone for the first time. Their deepest penetration, and they've relied on the power running game of Ja'Cory Howard.
Andrew Body, of course, in there at quarterback again. They feel like they have a little pep in their step when he's at the helm right now.
This will be the zone read. Howard with 2nd and 3rd effort. Boy, he was dead to rights to begin. Cole Maxwell had his arms wrapped around him. Maxwell, a terrific story. Last week he was singled out by the coaching staff for his effort. You talk about perseverance for number 96 for Baylor. Not one, but 2 ACL tears. He tore his left ACL 2 weeks before the 2018 season, and then 2 years ago, he tore his right knee up in the Big 12 opener against Iowa State. Now here he is, his 4th career start, and he is an impact player up front.
Yeah, he is. He's a big force, too. He's going to get in a lot of people's ways to allow those linebackers we talked about from sideline to sideline to make big plays.
A little bit of pride now for the Baylor D as they look for the shutout. Howard trying to change that, and there is Maxwell again, sliding down the line, and it's 4th and goal.
So you're a head coach here. You know, you haven't scored all night. What do you do here? Do you kick a field goal to put points on the board, or do you say, nah, we're gonna get it in the end zone?
I'm thinking end zone,
yeah.
And I'm thinking getting Body out of the pocket here. Do not keep him stationary.
On that last play, if Body would have pulled it, and I think he tried to,
yep.
but Ja'Cory Howard's a pretty big, rough and tumble guy and just pulled it back himself.
You're not going to take the ball away from Ja'Cory Howard. That's the running back. If you plant it in there, he's taking
timeout.
it.
Texas Southern. Media timeout.
So they will have time to think it over. David Marsh, the offensive coordinator, trying to figure out a way to get some points on the board against this Baylor defense. Alongside Ryan Leaf, Sean Kenny back with you from Waco. Baylor trying to pitch the shutout. Plenty of time for offensive coordinator David Marsh, head coach Clarence McKinney to try to script up this 4th down play. What do you like if you're the Tigers to try to find your first 6?
Yeah, I'm going with that run pass option here. Maybe zone read with the quarterback with a pass option on the outside. Put it in the hands of the young quarterback that's seemingly really done a great job with them. Under center, a little interesting here.
Yeah, tight formation. They'll go Howard, and he goes nowhere. And he lost the football, and it's scooped and picked up. And this is going to be a 99-yard return for 6. J.T. Woods, an exclamation point for Baylor.
Rolling on the field was a fumble recovered by the defense for a touchdown.
Dude likes the end zone. Back-to-back weeks for the safety. Last week, an interception for a pick 6, and now here, Johnny on the spot to pick up the fumble. I don't understand the play call, first of all, but then a great play up front to knock the ball loose. J.T. Woods scoops it up, and no one is going to catch the speedster from San Antonio as he waltzes into the end zone to put an exclamation point on this great effort by offense, defense, and special teams tonight.
97 yards for J.T. Woods. And how about the goal line stand by Baylor, in particular Cole Maxwell? Did you notice who had the hit that jarred the football free?
The last 3 plays.
Point after just did sneak in. Back-to-back weeks, J.T. Woods and this opportunistic Baylor defense.
We talked about the turnovers. Here's another one. You talk about Maxwell comes down there, knocks the ball loose. J.T. Woods just picks it up and is gone. Back-to-back weeks. We talked about the takeaways. 20 takeaways in 10 games under Dave Aranda. Add this to the table. This defense is special. Now, you got to take into consideration, of course, the opponent. Always, you know. A week ago, we saw some teams that played what we thought was – I thought TCU was exceptionally good a week ago against Duquesne. And, you know, California came in and gave them a real game today. So take that into consideration. But you got to feel pretty confident with what you're seeing because you're supposed to dominate in a situation like this. And they have from the start of the game, and they didn't break down there. They didn't allow a score. They got a turnover to boot and turned it into 6.
J.T. Woods broke into this Baylor secondary back in the 2019 year, and he really had a crash course. They had some good safeties when you look at the All-American Graylin Arnold, Henry Black, Chris Miller, some of the back-end defenders during the Matt Rule days. And now you look at Woods and Petrie, Christian Morgan, the 2 corners with Barnes and Tejada. Just keeping on that tradition. And the takeaways. I mean, last year, ranked 16th in the country in takeaways. 3 interceptions a week ago on the road win at Texas State. They get the scoop and score here from Woods.
There were the 2 things defensively they wanted to clean up, really. You know, the 4-man rush integrity up front. They've done a tremendous job with that. They've stayed in their assignments. Their gap integrity allowed linebackers to make plays and also clean up the penalties. Only the real 2 we saw, the 2 face mask penalties, or just the 1 face mask penalty, actually, that got them a first down in the first quarter. So they cleaned that aspect of things up, too. A lot of positives heading into Lawrence, Kansas next week for this Bears team.
9 tackle for losses tonight, a couple of sacks, the 1 takeaway for the Baylor defense, and the most important statistic, the 0 up on the scoreboard.
You know, there's something to that, right? To be able to withstand and keep that goose egg against whoever you play. It doesn't matter. To stop a team in this day and age where offense is king without scoring a point, that's a huge, huge accomplishment.
Keeping it his body. This is where he has been dangerous today, and he continues to do so as he picks up first down yardage, brought down at the 38-yard line. Andrew Body moving forward. All right, Ryan, you know, you look at Texas Southern. This is a program that has had a tough go. They haven't had a winning season since 2000. They want to crack the win column this year, especially once conference play opens up. They have a couple of options. It's tough to have the youngest room be your quarterback room, but that's the reality they're looking at.
It is. They're high on this young man out of Corpus Christi, and I think tonight against an incredibly dominant opponent, he's looked the best. Now, I'm sure the coaches will do their evaluation and their film study with everything and make that decision. But I think he's established himself as a guy that can make a difference offensively for this team and maybe get them back to a place where they can win some football games in their conference.
Nice job there by Body to read it and keep it up near midfield. 9 more yards for the quarterback. No winning season since 2000. Their last win on the field, you have to go back to 2018. In fact, November 17th, they were able to knock off Arkansas Pine Bluff. Last year, they were given a win in the spring via forfeit with Alcorn State. So they want this season to be the year that they start putting the pieces together. Yes, they're still very young, but again, they feel they have the talent. Big hole right up the middle, and taking full advantage of it is Proctor. He explodes through the right hole between the guard and tackle up to the 32.
it's always good to see your players continue to fight, right? They've just pulled it twice on the quarterback, running back option there. They give it, and Proctor just hits the hole straight downhill, gets all the way back into the secondary before tackled.
Fight, the word you used, I love that, because they have showed fight tonight. The defense early on forced several fourth downs. They just couldn't get off the field. And now Proctor not even touched until he's about 13, 14 yards downfield. Devin Neal able to lasso him down.
You know, sometimes I always thought it was funny when I would get pulled and you know, our backups and guys that didn't get the same amount of reps in practice, and it makes a difference, right? If you're not getting a ton of reps in practice, when you get into a game, it's so much faster and you have to be ready to roll. Texas Southern taking advantage of it.
Low snap dug out by Body. Proctor trying to bounce it to the outside. Just nowhere to go. There's pursuit tackling. Bernard, Dylan Doyle, Obi all in the mix for Baylor.
Against this Baylor defense and how fast they are, that's the one thing you can't do. You can't go laterally. You have to go north and south like they have the last few times. That one just kept getting extended further towards the sideline, and this speed of this defense, especially with Bernard, there's just no contest there.
Wholesale changes up front. Rob Solon, Braden Utley, Cole Maxwell all in on this 2nd and 11. Zone read. Body will hand it off. Hit at the line by Maxwell.
He's just spent the last 2 drives just really crashing down everything in front of him. Pushing an offensive lineman away and then you know, aggressively making the tackle. Ron Roberts, when he's looking at the film this week and determining more playing time for some of these guys that are down the roster a little bit, Maxwell's going to be at the top of his list.
So the offense continues to bottle down a little bit here, get bogged down inside the red zone. 3rd down, pressure comes, Body eludes, he has a chance to the 5, cuts to the end zone, and he'll be just short as they mark it inside the 1. Crafty play of the Texas 4A Player of the Year.
Come on, referee, give him something. The guy falls right at, I mean, I don't know. It looks like, watch where his left elbow comes down. They're going to take a look at that one, I think.
They are lined up, ready to go. 1st and goal from the 1. They will try to power their way in, and again, no signal. As they unpile the bodies, there it is, touchdown. The Tigers are on the board. Kevin Harris sneaking his way in.
You remember the Bush push?
I remember the Bush
There
push.
you go. There's the body push. I don't know if you saw that or not. He was stood up there. Watch Andrew Body here. After he hands it off, he decides, hey, I'm going to make this guy get in the end zone no matter what. He gives him a little push from the back there to break the shutout. Great job by the Tigers to battle back like they did.
So after coughing the football up on the doorstep, they marched the ball right back down the field. What a series for Andrew Body. And you got to wonder, will it be Body or Brown next week when they take the field against Rice? The freshman with the push into the end zone.
And then Oregon on the road without 2 of their best players on defense and coming away with the victory. Really sets that conference up for a chance if there's a team that could run the table.
How special is UCLA this year? They beat Hawaii. You mentioned the win against LSU. A lot of 3- and 4-year guys in that program, and they look dangerous.
They do. They look physical. They look fast. They look very similar to what this Baylor Bears team looks like in terms of what they do on defense. They're extremely confident. And then Chip Kelly is about as innovative as you can imagine on the offensive side of the football. So the only problem in the Pac-12, and it's always been the case, it becomes cannibalistic, right? They eat their own in that 9-game schedule where any team from top to bottom can beat any team. And so to get through that, to be an elite team that goes undefeated, to get to the college football playoffs, another story.
Tay McWilliams with his first touch, and McWilliams keeps his balance, shouldered out of bounds at the 31. McWilliams, a sophomore from Richmond, Texas. 44 yards.
When you get your chance, you make the most of it, right? Here, zone to the right, he cuts back, and then does a great job of exchanging the balls. If you're a young running back out there,
defense.
Watch what he did there.
That penalty's declined. First down.
He exchanged the ball to his outside hand, so it kept it away from the defender when they're coming to tackle, and that's something that you young running backs out there that are watching can take a lesson with.
He will get another touch over the left side, following his blocker up to the 20-yard line. That was Giancarlo Valentin out in front, paving the way for McWilliams.
Just put your hand right on the hip of that big fella and ride him as far as you can. It's exactly what the sophomore from Richmond, Texas did there. A couple great carries here. Blake Shapen enters as the third-string quarterback. He's going to get some opportunities, some run here too, mostly probably just to hand it off.
First down and 10, just outside the red zone. Shapen's going to throw, has his man near side, pass caught, shouldered out of bounds by Ja'Cory Benjamin.
As I said that, of course, they run a bootleg and he throws it on the first play.
Oh, these quarterbacks, they just want to throw the ball all over the place, don't they?
Yeah, we do. We like to do that, but we're also in a 59-7 game here. And
it's a good look at the redshirt freshman from Shreveport, Louisiana. Redshirted a year ago. Really a rich baseball background when you look at Shapen, as McWilliams is going to just waltz his way into the end zone. Touchdown. Man, that was way too easy if you're Texas Southern. It looked like he was going half speed, and McWilliams able to angle toward the front pylon, and Baylor tacks on 6 more.
You want to add one more to the mix here? You know, Tay McWilliams joins the party, right? He is a guy that can spell both of these running backs. I mean, a week ago at TCU, I saw a three-headed running back room there that could dominate and get things done, and whoever kind of got the hot hand would get the rock most of the night. Here, another example, Tristan Ebner and Abram Smith, both of those guys are going to be the workhorses, but Tay McWilliams looks every bit the part. He gets an opportunity. He's made the most of it.
He was a highly sought-after recruit. 4-star ESPN recruit during his high school days with Lamar. Rushed for over 1,500 yards in his senior season. His third touch on this drive, and number 22 has found the end zone. Baylor has found it frequently tonight. What a night in Waco. Baylor opening up their home schedule in a dominant way against their opponent from the SWAC, Texas Southern. 66-7, Baylor, 6:46 to go here in this one. The Bears getting ready to head to Lawrence, Kansas next week for the Big 12 opener. A couple of tune-ups against in-state schools. Saw McWilliams a few moments ago score his first touchdown this year. This Baylor offense close to 650 yards against a Tiger defense that just flat out looked exhausted on that last drive. Sean Kinney alongside Ryan Leaf. Ryan, I remember your Washington State team put up numbers like this, 66 total. But Baylor, you start thinking big picture for them as they get ready for Kansas next week, and we've seen what the Big 12 has done today. Where do they fit in the mix?
I would expect them to be near the top, right? Kansas State looked very good. I expected Iowa State to be much better. And when that game a couple weeks from now was on the schedule, I thought that may be an opportunity for them to beat a very good team. And now it looks like Baylor may have the upper hand.
You know, you look at Gary Bohannon tonight, manufacturing this offense, really managing the offense. When you have a defense like they do, he was able to take a deep shot early. He hit that. Did you like his game management in this one?
Yeah, I loved his game. I think that his versatility that he brings to the table allows them to do great things in the running game, but then use that great running game to play off it with the play action and take some shots down the field. They've got the receivers that can do it. They've got the running backs. Now it's just a matter of him making good choices, and I thought tonight he did, because when the guys were wide open down the field, he took those shots. But when they weren't and they didn't win, he pulled it down, he ran some, but he also got it to guys that were check downs, and that's what an offensive coordinator wants to see. When it's nothing there, you're not forcing something.
With their style of play and with what they want to do, and offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes, They have the defense in place. Their ball control style of offense is going to keep them in a lot of games and win a lot of games, as we talked about. So really it comes down to avoiding the mistake. And Bohannon has showed really good discipline in that area these first 2 weeks.
He has. He hasn't turned the football over. They turned it over on the first series a week ago against Texas State. They did not today. They haven't punted once. They went for it on fourth down a few times. But if you're Coach Dave Aranda, Jeff Grimes, Ron Roberts, collectively going into next week against Kansas, you got to feel really good. If you come back to Baylor here in McLean Stadium 2 weeks from now and take on the Cyclones at 3-0, that's exactly where this team wanted to be. And they got there with Jeff Grimes' new offense and the leadership on that defense.
Gary Bohannon, 2 games without turning the football over. He did not throw a touchdown last week. He threw 3 tonight. He rushed for 2 more.
You know, I think everybody was talking about Spencer Rattler as the quarterback of the Big 12. It's just, you know, he didn't look great against Tulsa necessarily. Pratt actually looked better in that game. Sorry, not Tulsa, but Tulane a week ago. And let's throw this one out there. With what they're going to ask him to do, with the defense being able to get a ton of turnovers, maybe Gary Bohannon's name starts being brought up. Not maybe Brock Purdy's name kind of slides down the line a little bit. And what Gary can do in this offense with not only his arm but his feet as well, maybe his name starts to creep in after a couple weeks. And that matchup against TCU and Max Duggan and those types of matchups. Now people are talking about Gary Bohannon and the Baylor Bears.
3 and out for Texas Southern. Sawyer Evans with the kick. Line drive, fair catch signaled for by Ebner at the 29. Timeout in the action. Bohannon certainly has had his share of success tonight. He's now a cheerleader along the Baylor sideline. Baylor will take a 2-0 record to Lawrence, Kansas next weekend to take on the Jayhawks. Iowa State in a couple of weeks, and the trip to Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater. As you take a look at what Baylor has coming up, you see on October 30th, Texas will be here. The Bears will have the luxury of a bye week before that. Ironically, the last time there were fans in the stands for a home game was the Texas game a couple of years ago.
They're just churning. This offensive system put into play by Jeff Grimes all the way down the roster. They just, punch and play here.
Monterey Baldwin with the long run. We talked about Jeff Grimes arriving here in Waco from BYU. He brought his offensive line coach, Eric Mateos, as well. Mateos spent the last 2 years in Provo, and it's interesting. Before taking this Baylor job, Mateos never watched any film from the previous Baylor teams. He did not want to go into the job with any preconceived notions, and he's one of those line coaches, and it's becoming more prevalent where versatility is the greatest strength that an offensive line can present. And when you look at this unit, Connor Galvin, Khalil Keith, Xavier Newman-Johnson, Grant Miller, Jacob Gull. Remember, Gull and Miller are the 2 transfers. And then Gavin Byers. You have a lot of versatility where guys can move both sides, tackles can move into the guard spots, and we've seen Newman Johnson play both center and guard with the arrival of Jacob Gull from Buffalo. So they have a lot of interchangeable parts up front.
Not only are they interchangeable, Sean, is their ability to move for how big they are. And that helps this type of offense. When you have to stretch, when you have to go and extend to get to a linebacker or a scraping offside linebacker or a defensive back that comes into the fray, and your ability to bend and move and the mobility of these giant men has played a huge part in the success of this offense in the running game already.
Yeah, won't that be fun? We just saw the schedule when BYU comes here in less than a month. Tay McWilliams, he might hit 100 yards in this quarter alone. He takes it down to the 15-yard line, 17 more yards for McWilliams.
If we could throw that schedule back up there again, there was a stretch of games where Baylor is going to really have to is really going to be tested. It's West Virginia, BYU, Texas, really the Texas, TCU, Oklahoma, Kansas State stretch from October 30th to November 20th. All 4 of those teams are going to be battles for them. We'll see where they're at that point, but that's going to be a stretch of games that you're going to really have to take a look at if you're a Baylor fan.
Inside 3 minutes to go. All Baylor here tonight. Number of different players getting an opportunity to play late. Fourth different quarterback utilized in there now.
Brandon Bass, the youngster, getting a chance to hand it off a few times here, get some play.
We're going to use all of this play clock. You know, one final point with this offensive line. When Mateos was at BYU over the last 2 years, he played 28 different line combinations. Showed up in Waco, and he told the media right away he plans on staying here, retiring here. His focus just continues to beef up that offensive line.
Baylor, 30-second timeout.
And now Baylor is going to use a timeout with 1:38 to play in this one. Well, it could have been a big shake-up day. We saw a couple, but 2 top 10 teams survive. Alabama rolls as expected. Georgia the same. But look at Oregon. They go to Ohio State, pick up the win. Oklahoma puts up 76. That game's still underway. Texas A&M survives. Notre Dame survives. And then Iowa State, with the loss to 10th-ranked Iowa, they will slip out of the top 10.
You know, something that I'd like to see from the AP poll and the coaches poll is that, especially when the preseason predictions go into it, you have no data, and yet whatever they do in week 1, because of the preseason predictions, they don't fall as far. I had Iowa State at like 17, just because I didn't think they played very well against Iowa State or Northern Iowa a week ago, and surely today against Iowa they were no match for them.
Yeah, and Iowa State is one of those teams with Matt Campbell. It seems like they struggle out of the gates, and then they're playing their best football come October and November. We'll see if that happens this year, but clearly the offense not clicking right now after 2 weeks. They put up just 16 on UNI and today.
And unfortunately, in this day and age, until the official announcement of the college football playoff expansion happens, you pretty much have to run the table. You might be a team that can get in as a conference champion with 1 loss, of course, but it's getting more difficult and more difficult when you have the cream of the crop at the very top, when you're talking about Alabama and you're talking about Clemson. Now, Clemson's already got a loss. Oklahoma or Ohio State's already got a loss. That's different from a year ago where there were 3 teams that entered the college football playoff undefeated.
Baylor into the victory formation.
I don't know if we've seen Dave Aranda smile tonight, though.
He always has that same stoic appearance, doesn't he? Whether it's up or whether it's down. So calm and cool. But, boy, we started the broadcast with how he was really beaming last week with the identity. He felt the players were embracing it. They knew who they were as far as the style of football they want to play. And I would say they have solidified their identity even more. And you can bet Kansas right now trying to figure out how to slow down this offense as the Bears rout Texas Southern, a game they were expected to dominate, and they take care of business tonight. 722 yards of offense, a 66-7 win over Texas Southern.
Darn, that was significant right there. I don't know if you fans at home could hear that, but we had a firework actually go off in the broadcasting booth right next to our ears. must feel like what Texas Southern feels like right about now. They were shell-shocked most of the game. This Baylor Bears team is very good. They're as advertised. And to your point about the identity piece, this team reflects Dave Aranda. They really do. They were stoic. They were hard-nosed. They played overwhelmingly well throughout the evening, and I look forward to them getting into their Big 12 schedule the next week in Lawrence, where I'll have them again. I'm excited to call their game again next week because this is an exciting team. Gary Bohannon and Baylor off to a 2-0 start. They roll Texas Southern tonight. Final score 66-7. For Ryan Leaf and our entire crew from Waco, this is Sean Kinney saying so long. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Good night from Waco.